In our lesson on conditional probability for the 2020-2021 school year, there was a portion of the notes that I instructed you to leave blank because we weren't meeting face-to-face. We're flipping the class and we're doing some kind of different things. But I had posted in forms a poll for you to fill out, and I think about 40 of you did that poll. And so what I wanted to do in this very quick lesson is go over that poll and actually use the results from our classes taking that survey to review the conditional probability, the notation, and what it means and so forth. All right, so in that poll, you were asked to identify I gave you 5 different groups, but only 4 of them were chosen, and that's fine. And basically what it broke down to is like male, female, or Monday, Friday. So if you knew that you had a long weekend coming up, which you don't, but if you did, would you prefer to have that long weekend with the Friday off, or would you prefer to have the long weekend with the Monday off? And the results are actually very much in line with what they are every year. And there is a pattern to this. So here's what it looks like. And if you've got your notes handy, if you have the hard copy of the notes, feel free to pull them out and finish them up at this time. You do not need to re-upload them into Focus. So on that chart, we had it broken down male, female. And then on the left-hand side, we had whether you prefer to have Monday off or Friday off. And here's how our class data broke down. This is all across all 3 of my Algebra 2 classes. There were 8 people who said, I am male and I prefer to have Monday off. There were 11 people who said, I am male and I prefer to have Friday off. There were 13 people who said, I'm female and I would prefer to have Monday. And 7 who said, I am female and I would prefer Friday. Now, typically when I do this, I do it class by class. So each class only works with their own data. That's a little bit trickier to do this year. And it's definitely hairy to do in forms because on my end, I end up with way too many forms. So some years I end up with like 0 in a particular category. Just, it depends on who's there and how they're distributed. But a general pattern is that females, like the girls, prefer to have the Monday off and the guys prefer to have the Friday off. And I mean, that's not always like across the board how it works out, but it is frequently what happens. So there are in your notes, I think, 3 probabilities that you are asked to find. We're actually going to find 4 because there's a special point I want to make about one of those probabilities. So the first one is, what is the probability that somebody prefers Monday off? And so that's denoted with the P for probability and then Monday, or I'm using MON to indicate like the probability of just Monday. So for that, this actually is not a conditional probability. This is just if we were to pick one of these students at random, what is the probability that that student would prefer to have the Monday off? So what we would do is we would look at all the students that prefer Monday off. So 8 plus 13 is 21 over the total number of students. This is 20, this is 19, 20 plus 19 is 39. And general practice would be that you would simplify this fraction or change it over to whatever form you're asked to change it over to. I did a couple videos a few days ago. One of them is strictly on rounding. So if you have gotten comments from me in Focus about rounding issues, please check that video out. It's pretty short and it just goes over the basics of rounding and how to interpret the directions when you're asked to round. The other video is on ways to express probability as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. Again, it's a pretty short video that just goes over how to make sure that you're going between the 2 different forms. For this purpose, though, we'll just simplify the fraction. I do notice that both of those numbers are divisible by 3, and so 21 divided by 3 is 7. And 39 divided by 3 is 13? So that would be the simplified fraction form. Okay, now the next one is given in like words. So it says, what is the probability that a student prefers Monday? And then it actually has it written out. Given that the student is female. So here's what that means. It means that you are only looking at the female students, given that the student is a female. So we're only looking at female students. There were 20 girls who responded to this poll. Of those 20 girls, 13 of them replied that they preferred Monday off. And so the probability of that happening would be 13 out of 20 because you're only looking at the female students. Take a moment, just think through how that's phrased because you will hear that a lot. You'll hear it. I just a few minutes ago looked at this. We're going to talk about like self-selected polling, but it was Jacksonville residents. It was volunteer sampling, and it had to do with like side effects from the different vaccines. And so you could be asked a question, what is the probability of having a reaction given that you had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? So you would only be looking at people that had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, not at the other types of vaccines that are out there. And so you will hear this. This is not this like crazy math stuff that you'll never use or never come across again. Now, the next one there gets into the special notation. So you'll see probability of male, and then you see that vertical line, and then you see the word Friday. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do to document to me that you have watched this video. I'm putting it at minute 7.5 in the video. To document to me that you have watched this video, there is another poll available in Teams. It is in the class discussion board. So you're going to click onto your team, go to class discussion board, and the poll says box and whisker data or something. It's collecting more data for another lesson that we're going to do that's actually still in the probability model section. So I want you to make sure when you're done watching this video, go to the class discussion board, click on that poll. It is super easy. It is one question. It is how many siblings do you have? That would be brothers and sisters. Now you are free to define sibling, brother and sister in whatever way makes sense to you. And so, well, here's what I mean by that. No, you can't call your cousins your siblings. Okay. Like they're your cousins. But some of you have like full siblings. Some of you have step siblings. Some of you have half siblings. You may or may not consider some of your like step siblings to really be siblings. So if your step siblings are 20 years older than you and live in South Dakota and you've never met them, you probably don't consider them siblings. You don't have to count them. But if you have step siblings that live with you and you think of them as like, full on whatever, like you are more than welcome to count them. Okay. So, when we talk about siblings, absolutely, like you can count half siblings, you can count step siblings, totally okay. You cannot not count your kid brother just because you don't like him. All right, like he still counts. So, but you may not count your best friend just because your best friend feels like a brother to you. Like no, they're your best friend. So, all you have to do is type in the number. It's super easy, and then that's how I am going to know that you watched this video. So easy grade, right? Okay, back to this problem. So this vertical line here is read as the word given. So what is the probability that a student is male given that they prefer to have Friday off? So given that they prefer Friday means you are only looking at the students that prefer Friday. Of those students, and there are 18 students who responded to the poll that said that they prefer to have Friday off. Of those 18 students, 11 of them are male. So the probability that someone is male, given that the student prefers Friday off, is 11 out of 18. Now, the question that I'm adding is this one. What is the probability that a student prefers Friday given that they are male? Because I really want to emphasize that these are not the same thing, and this is a really easy thing to get wrong on the quiz on this. Quiz, test, whatever, like the assessment that we have on it. So it's really easy to get this wrong if you don't remember how to read that. So if you need to, like, pause the video, say it out loud, okay? Even if somebody's in the room with you, say the probability of Friday given that the student is a male. So we're only looking at our male students, and we want to know what is the probability that they prefer Friday given that they are male. Well, there were 19 guys who responded to the survey. Those are the males, and of those males, 11 of them preferred Friday. So it does make a difference which order they are in, and you do need to think about each problem individually. So I know the day that you guys were working on this in class, I was actually online during period 7. And so I was responding to a lot of period 7 questions in real time, which was kind of cool. But I tried to make sure that I am responding to you guys, and, I'll take a look at the homework. I haven't at this point looked at the actual assignment for that yet, to see how you did. And so anyway, so there's the summary, and remember to document that you watched this video. You need to go to the class discussion board and you need to answer that question on the number of siblings that you have.